Hey guys, today our lesson is Chapter 10, Lesson 8, Shape of Data Distribution. Our objective is 6.12b. I can discuss the following terms when analyzing the distribution of data: cluster, gap, peak, and symmetry. And really, ultimately, our goal is not only being able to use those terms when discussing the distribution of data, but also explain what that means. Okay, so to get us started, we have some important vocabulary because these are all new words. So our first one is cluster. So when we're looking at data and the distribution, cluster means that the data is grouped closely together. What does that look like? Okay, so we can see that from 16 to 18, we have a lot of data right here. And then there's really nothing here, but then 21 and 22, there's a lot of data in this area. So that means between 16 and 18, there is a cluster. So 16 through 18 and 21 through 22 show clusters because the data is grouped closely together. Next term is called a gap. A gap is when the numbers have no data value. And we're talking about the numbers on a number line. So for example, I see that I don't have any data above the number 2 on my number line, and I don't have any data above the number 6. So that means that there is a gap at 2 and 6. Our next term or word is peak. And peak is the most frequently occurring values or mode. So we've already learned mode. We know another word for mode is most. So which number do you see the most frequently? Meaning which number repeats the most number of times. Okay, so I do have some numbers that repeat. So 10 I see repeats 2 times, 12 repeats 2 times, and 14 repeats 2 times. Okay, but if we look at 11, 11 repeats 3 times. So since 11 is the most frequently occurring value, that means 11 would be the mode. And then the last word is symmetry. Symmetry means the left side of the distribution looks like the right side. So if we were to split our data in half, the left and right hand sides would look exactly the same. Okay, so I'm going to find where would the middle be just using our number line. Okay, so in the middle would be 24. So if I were to split this in half, I'm going to take my highlighter and draw a line down the middle. Does the left side look exactly like the right side? Well, I have 3 dots, 2 dots, and 1 dot. It looks exactly the same, so it is symmetrical. Okay, now you need the handout that I gave you, and we're going to fill in some sentences looking at examples of data distribution. Okay, so this is the handout I gave you. Our first example says the dot plot shows the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit in a city over several days. Okay, so here's our data. Can we determine whether or not our data is symmetrical? Okay, well, let me see if I can find the middle of my data. So the middle would be between 20 and 21. So if we were to split it in half, does the left side look like the right side? Well, no, I can see I have more dots over 22. So the shape of our data distribution is not symmetrical. Okay. And the reason it is not symmetrical is because the left side of the data does not look like the right side of the data. Okay, what else can we say when looking at our data? Well, I see I have some data missing here. We don't have any dots above 19, 20, or 21. So that means that there is a gap from 19 to 21. There is not any data in here. Okay, what else can we say? Well, we have a gap here, meaning there's no information. Well, I see the data is close together here and the data is close together here. So that, what do we call data that is close together? Those are clusters. So we have two clusters from 16 to 18 and 22 to 25. Okay, what else can we identify or say about our data distribution? Do we have a number that repeats the most frequently? Okay, well, basically we're looking for which number has the most dots, right? And we can see 22 has the most dots. So we could say that the distribution has a peak, or we also call it a mode of 22. All right, let's look at another example. Okay, so now we have a box plot, and the box plot shows the number of visitors to a gift shop in 1 month. So what do we know about a box plot? Well, we know that we can label our quartiles. So we can say that this is our lower extreme or our least number. We know that this is our quartile 1. This is our quartile 2, also known as the median. We have quartile 3, and this is the greatest number. Okay, do we know specific numbers that we have on our box plot? No, but we can find the percentages for where most of our data lies, or certain parts of our data. So we could say 25% of our data is between 10 and 30. Okay, it looks pretty evenly distributed because we have the same number or the same range in our whiskers. They're the same length, okay, same size, and same goes for our boxes. Our boxes are the same length, same size, so it's also evenly distributed. Okay, are we able to find things like gaps, peak, and cluster? Well, really, if we don't have our individual numbers, we cannot. So you cannot identify peaks, gaps, and clusters, okay? But we do know that the data is evenly distributed because the boxes and whiskers are the same. If you were to split your box plot in half, does it look the same on both sides? It does. So we know the median is the middle, which is half. This side looks the same as this side, so the distribution is symmetrical since the left side of the data looks like the right side. Okay, so let's talk about how we can describe the center and the spread. So we have a flow chart that we're going to use that'll tell us which measures of center and spread are most appropriate to describe a data distribution. Okay, is the data distribution symmetric? If it is, we're going to use the mean to describe this center, so that would mean that we would take the average. And we could use the interquartile range, also known as the IQR, to describe the spread, okay, if it is symmetrical. If it is not symmetrical, we're going to use the median to describe the center, and we're still going to use the interquartile range, or IQR, to describe the spread. Okay, and we'll look at some more examples in class and discuss why that is. Okay, so now you're ready with some vocabulary terms for our lesson. Tomorrow I will see you guys in class. Have a great night.